Welcome to the Antioch Podcast, designed to nurture knowledge, cultivate creativity, heal the heart, and strengthen for service. Thanks for listening, and welcome home.
Good morning, family. It's good to see you today. It's a good day. I hope you're ready for an incredible morning. I'm so excited. It's graduation season. It's so much excitement going on. My mom's in town, which is wonderful. So I want to start just with some random things. Actually, let me start here. This year, if you're new to Antioch or maybe you're here visiting with us, we're doing something called 40 Weeks of Follow. Our word of the year is follow. We have these journals to help you in the journey of follow and where we're learning what it is to follow Jesus. Part of that is I felt like I was supposed to take the Sermon on the Mount, which we just completed this last week. And if you weren't here for these last 3 weeks for the Sermon on the Mount, please go back and listen to it, because it's really the heart of what it is to follow Jesus, to take his words serious and his commands serious, and to get a vision for what that's all about. But I felt like I was supposed to take that and breaking it down, looking at the different things that he calls us to, or a better way to say it is what he invites us to. And as I did that, I saw there were 20 different invitations, it seems, from Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. And then in addition to that, I felt like we also have to look at practically how have people, followers of Jesus, tried to put this into practice. And so from that, I found 20 different invitations of different disciplines and different things that you could do to practically follow Jesus. So the goal is for us to get this idea of following Jesus not just in our head and not just in our hearts, but also in our hands, to be living this out and walking this out. Even the word follow kind of implies more than just believe it. It's like, okay, no, follow. Let's go. Like you're going to go and do something. So that being said, we're on step 13 in our 40 steps of following. So let me read this to you this morning. This is building from Matthew 5:38 through 42. You have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, and over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. Ephesians 4:26 says, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. Now, before I read through the invitation this week, Aaron, thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and sharing. We all go through difficult times. We all go through hard seasons. We all go through confusing and scary seasons. And it's in these seasons that this idea is incredibly important, because it's very easy to allow the emotions and the fear and the circumstances to dictate and control who we are. With that being said, let's take a look at this. I have often heard people discuss the classic reactions to aggression: fight, flight, or freeze. As a child, I was taught that if you run away, they'll come back another day. If you freeze, you're just an easy target. I was taught to fight back by my dad. Stand up to the bully. If someone hits you, hit them back and keep hitting them so that they'll never consider hitting you again. For some reason, it just never stuck with me. To be honest, I probably freeze more than anything else. It makes me feel like a coward. But everything within me just locks up and I stand there and I take it, not like a man, but like a scared child. I don't know. I guess none of these responses seems like something that Jesus would do. Don't get me wrong. There were times when he fought back, like calling the Pharisees a brood of vipers. There were times when he chose flight, when he left Nazareth. And there were times when he froze, as a sheep is silent before its shearers. But they all feel different when he does it. Like there was something else he was doing in addition to them. They weren't just reactions for him, they were fruitful responses based on something deeper. When my dad tried to teach me to fight, emphasis on tried, I was taught judo, where you use your opponent's strength and aggression against you and turn it into your strength. I think this is what Jesus was often up to and what he calls us to as well. A new response to aggression that nobody ever considered, a way of turning that aggression around. Take what was meant as an attack against you into an opportunity to surprise your attacker and shift the situation. If someone slaps one cheek, turn the other. If someone wants to steal from you, offer them more than they sought. This is more than non-resistance. It embraces the force of the attack and turns it around. You can't take from me what I willingly give to you. You can't force me to do what I freely volunteer to do. So it seems that Jesus added to fight, flight, and freeze the fourth option of self-control. By choosing self-control, he maintained control of his response and control of the situation. And our self-control can take what the enemy meant for evil and change it for good. So your turn, your challenge or your invitation this week, you're invited to choose the fourth way. The way of self-control, where you don't allow others or circumstances to control how you respond to a situation. Self-control isn't about you controlling everything, but rather to allow the Spirit of God to control you in every circumstance. So first, hopefully you won't be placed in a situation where you're feeling threatened or attacked this week. I don't want that to happen to you. So we'll use our holy imagination to prepare our hearts in the event that something does happen. Think of a recent situation where you felt attacked. How did you react? What would look different if you maintained self-control and were able to respond? How would you respond to diffuse the situation of aggression? How would you like to respond to these types of situations in the future? Second invitation, practice responding instead of reacting this week. Here's how we're going to practice this. Anytime you're asked a question this week, take a moment to process before you answer the question. Take the time you need to think about your response and how would Jesus respond to that question. Third suggestion, if this is a season where you're tempted to worry or be fearful, talking to you graduates right now with I don't know what the future is going to hold and what I'm going to do and everything seems crazy and I don't know what's going on. Choose to control your thoughts and make a sacrifice of confidence and trust in the goodness of God. Your grace is sufficient for me. And finally, practice the discipline of not having the last word this week, especially in any disagreements. Let the other person have the last statement. That's a hard one. It's going to take some practice. But there you go. There's our next of our 40 weeks of follow. Well, today we have a very special service. We are working our way through the book of Matthew, but we're going to pause that for today, and we're going to celebrate a baccalaureate service. This is a time of celebration and a time of blessing for those who are graduating. The foundation verse for our church, or one of the foundation verses, but this one's deep at the core of who we are, comes from 1 Thessalonians verse 8. It says this, it actually starts in verse 7. Just as a nursing mother cares for her children, so we cared for you. Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. And that's the key. That is the key to understanding who we are as a church. We feel like God has called us to be a family, where it's not just about preaching the gospel, it's preaching the gospel and sharing our lives as well. Doing life together, encouraging one another, edifying one another, building one another up, loving one another, all of that. And 2 weeks ago, as we were in worship, I jotted this down and trying to think through who we are as Antioch. I'm constantly revisiting and asking Jesus for this. And I felt like he said, we're a family of simple people trying to learn how to follow Jesus, practicing what he taught us, and loving and encouraging one another. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. We're probably never going to be a megachurch. I don't know that we want to be. Nothing against megachurches. They're doing incredible things that we'll never be able to do. But I think we're supposed to be a family of simple people, seriously and intentionally trying to learn how to follow Jesus, because it's not easy. It's challenging sometimes. And you're going to fail sometimes, and you need to be at a place where it's okay for you to fail. And they'll pick you up, and they'll encourage you, and they'll send you back out, where we're going to practice what he taught us. I don't think any of us are going to perfect it this side of eternity. I all the time hear people having these deep, complex arguments about specific doctrinal issues, and those are great conversations to have, but when they come and they ask me about it, like, I've been educated and I've studied this stuff, but I feel like, you know what? I'm still trying to get Sermon on the Mount down. So I feel like that's a little bit more important for me to figure out than the age of the universe. Whether it's a young earth or old earth, I don't know. And it's not that I don't care, but man, I'm still trying to learn how to love my neighbor. And I'm trying to learn how to love my enemy, and honestly, enemy's hard. So I'm gonna start with my neighbor, and someday maybe I'll get to my enemy. But I'm doing my best, and I'm trying. And that's what we're here for. And when we gather, we're gonna gather so that we could love each other, seek the best for each other. And we're going to serve one another and encourage one another. That's what we're gonna try and do, both to give it and to receive it. So that's our heart. So with that being our heart, and also I was in education, I was a math teacher for 26 years, both at high school and college level. I have a heart for seniors, whether they be in high school or in college, and understanding how important this time of transition is for you. These past years have been forming you into a particular type of person. And you have some very important decisions to make as you decide to move forward from this moment. This is a watershed moment where there's the proverbial fork in the road, and you have a choice of where you're going to go from here. Either you're going to choose to continue to form yourself into the image and likeness of our Creator, or you're just going to follow gravity and be formed into the way of the world. And that's a hard decision to make. It's not like you know the right answer, but knowing the right answer doesn't make it easy. I know I should not have eaten donuts this morning, and yet here we are. So this morning, we wanted to give the seniors a voice, and we want to hear from them where they're at. We gave them 3 prompts to choose from, and a couple of them agreed to come and share with us this morning. Can we put the 3 prompts up on the screen? What have you learned in this past season that has prepared you for following Jesus in the next? Or if someone asked you, what is one thing that I need to know about following Jesus? What would you say? Well, our evangelists will probably answer that question. And the third, what does following Jesus mean to you? So we invited them to share on any of those ideas. And honestly, if there's something else, they could do that too. But they have 5 minutes, or we're going to be here very late. And then after our service today, we're going to have a barbecue and a baptism at the Pereno's house. And we would love for you all to come and join us for that. Hopefully the sun will stay out and the winds will stop. We'll pray that into being. So these are the 3 questions. Our first person who's going to share is Lindsay. Lindsay, why don't you come up? You guys welcome Lindsay. Lindsay is one of the few remaining that has had the opportunity to have me as a teacher. What's up?
Oh my God. Okay. Hello. I have a 4-minute timer. I'm starting now. So when it goes off, I need to wrap things up. I have some random thoughts scribbled on paper, and I didn't realize there's or, so I'm going to try to touch all 3 of those, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so starting off really young, my parents are really smart. My dad's a pastor. My mom taught in the Christian Studies department at CBU my whole life growing up. So most 8-year-olds are talking about like Noah's Ark and all the animals, and I'm like, we have a triune God. So, and so I really just like, I followed them growing up, and I go to church. And once I kind of became like a real functioning human, I didn't know what it meant for a normal person who didn't have a career in Bible to like study and learn and grow, and like, what does this look like? And so that's kind of what college taught me. And there's 2 resources that I'm going to plug that like really helped me through what this past season has prepared me for. The first one is this church. This church gave me a really safe place to ask questions and be dumb and like have community and grow. And the second one is the Baymont podcast. A lot of people have listened to it already. I can't recommend it enough. And the podcast really taught me how to ask questions for myself and like what to ask and what was maybe different than the traditional academic thoughts that my parents had in those debates, and really how to like think for myself. And so through all of that, the big thing that I took away is that I need to trust the story. Like, and all the people that Aaron mentioned in the song today, like they all trusted the story. They didn't even have Jesus. Like they trusted the story without Jesus. We have Jesus. And I will be unemployed after tomorrow. And like now my next step is to trust the story. And no matter what job I have, no matter where I end up here or somewhere else, like I know God's got me. And I know that I can look to his word and his resources, and I can like trust the story, because at the end of the day, Jesus has got it. Now, one thing I want someone else to know about Jesus, and if you have to do any like theological backtracking on this, I'm really sorry. I think of Jesus sometimes, not all the time, sometimes as one of those like big scary biker dudes who has like the little chihuahua, because he's so strong and he has all this power, and he's got like the big shoulders, and he could take anyone down any second, and yet he's caring for this little creature, and he's so compassionate and so like delicate, and so loving towards this little creature. And it reminds me of the hymn "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," which was really close to what we sang today. So shout out the worship team. But like the first line is like, "What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear." Like, are you kidding me? All our sins and griefs to bear? And believe me, I have cried with God. I have yelled at Jesus. I have screamed and asked why, and he can handle it all. Because he's the big, strong biker man, and I'm his little chihuahua. And so through that, in the next season of life, the biggest thing I've taken away is like, I am not called to be an academic like my parents. I am not called to study Bible as a career and stand up and do that crazy thing. And I'll power to them. But I am called to radically love and be hospitable. And especially in our current climate and world, and there's so much crazy stuff going on, all I can do is love my neighbor. And I can do what's spiritually best for them. And sometimes that's sharing the gospel. Sometimes that's just saying, hey, I care about you. Sometimes that's shooting a text. But really, that's what following Jesus looks like to me. And I'll never be perfect at it. My timer just went off, so let me pause that. I got a minute left. And I'll never be good at it. I will never perfect it. But I have a whole lifetime to try. And so after college, after unemployment, once I do get a job, like that's the goal. And that's what I think Jesus would really stand for. So.
Before you leave, tell us what you're graduating with.
Graphic design with a concentration in motion design. So if anyone wants to hire me, come see me.
All right, we're just gonna keep this going. Mackenzie, where's my Mackenzie? She's gonna come up here. So excited to hear from you. Start by introducing yourself. Tell us what you're graduating with, and then rock on.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm graduating with my bachelor's in psychology, and I will actually be coming right back to CBU almost immediately. So I'm going to actually be reading off my phone because unfortunately I am a yapper and would be one of the reasons we would be here for a really long time. So when I was first sent the form asking if I wanted to speak at this service, I knew I was going to say yes, and I knew what I wanted to talk about. So when Corey sent us the prompts with all the questions, I was excited to see that the first one was asking me to share what this past season of my life has taught me to prepare for the next one of following Jesus. I think it's important to start off with my word for the year, as I didn't start coming to Antioch until the fall, so I didn't actually know how one got their word for the year and how it actually becomes one of the biggest parts of your year. When I found out you simply had to pray for it, I was all in. But I was slightly concerned that it would take a long time to get, as some people were talking about how long God sometimes waited to answer and give you your word. But I got mine almost immediately when I started praying about it. And as I started praying about it, the word peace kept coming to mind, which I found really funny, as that has always been one of the hardest things for me to find in my life. I won't go into too much detail as to why, as we don't really have time for that, but it has ended up being extremely important to me this year. Peace is not something that comes naturally to me, as I've struggled with both my physical and mental health my entire life. So I've learned to always live on edge and be thinking of what the worst case scenario is and the next thing that could go wrong. And so I had no idea how this would play out, and the start of the year really tested me. Every time I turned around, something new was going wrong. And a lot of the time it was related to my little sister, who is honestly my favorite person in this whole world. I was constantly stressed out, panicking, and feeling like I wasn't doing enough. During this, I almost forgot my word for the year until I was reading from a passage from the Bible, don't ask me which, I don't remember, and it reminded me about this word. So sorry. This was around the time when the worst of everything was happening, and so I decided to just try and start praying for peace. Peace over my mind, over my body, all the situations, my little sister, and anything else I could have possibly thought of. Unfortunately, the peace didn't come immediately, and that was until I confided in others as to what was happening and how much it was affecting me, until I started asking for prayer and not just hiding what was going on and hiding what God was doing for me and working on it in my life. Many people knew what my word for the year was, but they didn't know how God was working on it through me to find this peace. Sharing these situations, I feel, not only brought me closer to this community God has provided me, but has also pushed me to continuously learn to look back towards Him, to the things I need. While I feel more at peace than I think I ever have in my entire life, I'm definitely still working on it and being okay with whatever happens. And this season has taught me a lot. I've learned that we need community and that hiding what God is doing in your life doesn't help anyone. I've been learning how to confide in God first when any major stressors appear in my life before I get wrapped up in my own thoughts. And I've been learning to slowly just abide in Him, which is currently the word going on for my month. I realize that His silence when I'm asking for help is not Him abandoning me or forgetting about me, but it's Him waiting until the perfect moment to answer. I've also come to realize that we are not promised freedom from suffering when we decide to follow Christ, but we are promised a Father who has everything planned out perfectly and will never leave us in our suffering. The next season of my life may get a little bit messy, but I know I can always lean into Him and my community that He has provided for me. He has and will always provide me with what I need. I'm excited for my next steps in my walk with Jesus and what He will continue to do, not only for my word for the year, but the rest of my life with Him.
All right, next up we have Sam. Guys, welcome Sam.
Hello, everybody. I've so badly wanted to speak in front of you all for the last 2 years when I got baptized here. In my secret place with Jesus, He would give me things like deep revelations of who He is, and I'd be like, man, I really wish I could share this with everybody. And so God's blessed me with that ability in small groups. And so originally my plan was to share with you all my testimony. However, many of you have already heard my story where I did an altar call, and I was filled so much with the Holy Spirit that I became actually drunk on the Holy Spirit, and then I blacked out. And then I woke up in my friend's arms a few minutes later. And so I want to start off by saying Exodus 3:14. And God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. So over the last 2 years, I've been writing down all of the revelations of Jesus that I could find. It started with God showing me that Jesus has actually been around since eternity. We could see this in the Garden of Eden, that God was walking through the garden. And it's like, well, how is God walking through the garden if he didn't have a body? So it's like, okay, so Jesus was just walking in Eden with Adam and Eden. So I wrote down all these revelations. So here's a little poem I wrote. So I'm going to be reading off of it, if that's okay. Jesus says, I am. Because if you finish that sentence, it would be contradicting who he is. Because he is not limited to a name. Because he is not just your friend, not just your groom, not just your savior. He was the ark that carried Noah. Jesus was the staff in Moses' hand. He was the wall of Jericho falling at his sound. He was the strength in Samson's hair. Jesus was the oil that never ran dry. He was the lion's shut mouth in Daniel's den. He was the prophet greater than Moses in Deuteronomy. He was the bronze serpent and the pillar of fire in Numbers. He was the wisdom crying out in the streets of Proverbs. He was the preacher who declared all his vanity without him in Ecclesiastes. He was the ram that was caught in the thicket for Abraham. He was the bridegroom whose joy is complete. He is the cornerstone the builders rejected, the true temple that was destroyed and raised in 3 days. He was the name above every name, the one whom every knee will bow, the King of kings, the Lord of lords, the Alpha and Omega, the author and finisher of our faith, the Lion of Judah, the Lamb upon the throne, the one who holds the keys to the death and Hades, the one who is and is to come. He was the rock in David's sling. He was the voice calling out in the night to Samuel, the son of David on the eternal throne. He is the lover who will not let go in the Song of Songs, the husband to the unfaithful in Hosea. He is the resurrection foreshadowed in the belly of the great fish of Jonah. He is the restorer of the years the locusts have eaten in Joel. He's the glory departing and returning in Ezekiel. He's the new covenant written on our hearts in Jeremiah. He is the pierced one they will look upon and mourn. He's the God who does not change in Malachi. He is the one who fasted for 40 days and did not break. He is the one that ate with the tax collectors and was called a friend of sinners. He was the one who opened blind eyes with mud, the boy in the temple asking questions that silenced teachers. He was the one who stopped a funeral and gave a son back to his mother, and the one who wrote in dirt while the accusers dropped their stones. He's the carpenter who builds souls, the baby wrapped in cloth, the fourth man in the fire, the still small voice in Elijah, the cloud by day and the fire by night, the whisper in Gethsemane, the resurrection and the life, and the servant who is willing to clean even our feet. The high priest in Leviticus, the Passover lamb in Exodus, the seed of the woman in Genesis, the bronze serpent lifted in the wilderness. He is our manna. He is the man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He is the one who was despised and rejected, the one who bore our iniquities, the suffering servant in Isaiah, the one by whom our wounds we are healed. The blood on the doorpost, he is the veil torn in two. He is the one who fell on his face in the garden and sweat drops of blood. He is the one that forgave from the cross and said it was finished. He is the stranger on the road to Emmaus, whose words burned within. He's the empty tomb, the lamb slain before the foundation of the world, the one who stopped a Christian killer on the road and handed the church its greatest writer. He is every shadow, he's in every promise, he's in every battle, he's in every victory. He is in the silence and the sound, he's in the wilderness and in the breakthrough. He's in the answer that exceeds every answer you've ever expected. He's in the bedroom at night when no one else knows your name. He is in the pain that has no language yet, and he is in the longing that can only be satisfied by anything smaller than him. He is the Logos. He's the governing logic beneath all that exists. The word that is called light from nothing, and he's the reason the universe holds together. He is the I am.
Just remind us, you're graduating from CBU with a degree in?
Corporate finance and accounting with a psychology minor.
I love hearing all these voices, so many stories. We're going to invite Audrey up now. Introduce yourself and your degree.
Okay. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Audrey Littoral, and I am graduating with a bachelor's and master's in architecture from CBU. 2 for 1, kind of a fun deal. So when I was asked to talk about this, I kind of took the Lindsay method and I answered all 3 questions. So, but I promise I'm going to move fast. So, because there's just been so many things throughout the entirety of these 5 years that have really just made such an impact on me and my walk with Christ. So I kind of wanted to try and do my best to hit them all. So the first thing has just been trusting the Lord. And this really started from the get-go with my time at CBU, even before I came to CBU. I actually graduated and lived in South Carolina for all of high school. And so when I was looking at colleges and I found CBU and I knew I wanted to go there, it was kind of a crazy deal, especially because we didn't know anybody out here. I didn't have any friends out here. I knew nobody who went to CBU. And had nothing kind of that sort to support me. And so I really went out on a limb of trust to come to CBU. And that was kind of the beginning of that whole journey and continued throughout my time at CBU of trusting that he would take care of me through every hard assignment, because architecture's really hard, and every late night, and just everything that I've gone through. Trusting in the Lord has really been kind of the rock of all of that. And secondly, and kind of going into that as well, just kind of knowing deep down that the Lord is good and wants good things for me. I am somebody who really likes to be in control. I'm an eldest daughter. It's kind of what we do. And so for a long time, not being able to control things and being able to kind of make things go the way I wanted them to has always kind of been a struggle. And so a big part of that trust is knowing that the person who should be in control isn't actually me, which is a like hard thing to realize, and honestly, I still struggle with it all the time. But that's kind of been the thing to kind of combat, is that, and the lie to combat, that it's not me that should be in control and that has all of these wonderful things that I can plan out for my life. It's actually the Lord. He has wonderful, wonderful things for every step of my life and every step of your guys' life. So just really believing that deep down and combating that lie every time has been a really big thing for me. And then just lastly, the biggest thing I think following the Lord has been is being welcoming. I'm a military kid. I've moved 10 times. So being somewhere new and knowing nobody isn't actually all that new of an experience, but the greatest acts of kindness and things that I think that have really shown Christ is being welcoming, that other people have been able to show to me and I've been able to show to other people, has really just been as being welcoming and seeing somebody in a room who doesn't actually have anybody to talk to, doesn't look like they know anybody, or any of that, and going over and talking to them and kind of being a bit of a buddy, getting to sit with them the whole time, or even just introducing them to other people that maybe you're not their best friend, but somebody else in that room might be. So being able to connect those people and doing that kind of thing is truly, I think, a wonderful, wonderful act of kindness. So those are really just kind of the big 3 things that I feel like I've learned over this past season, and will be taking with me into the next. Thank you guys so much for being my church the past year.
Okay, up next we have Sebastian. Sebastian's one of our high school seniors.
Good morning, Antioch. Ooh, this is loud. All right, I'm going to give a super duper short testimony as quick as possible because I know I'm on a bit of a time crunch here. But I grew up Catholic. I went atheist for a very, very long time. And I never could really find like what the Holy Spirit really felt like, or maybe I did feel him and I just didn't know that that was what that was. And one day, Jude invited me to Antioch, and it was one of the anniversaries, and the worship team released the new album. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it right now. But it was during Sweet Communion, that song where I felt this rush of just love fall over me, and that's when I realized, and I could just like feel Jesus just right there, and I was like, he's so real. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was an incredible feeling, and I've never felt it before. And I'm gonna answer if someone asked you one thing that I need to know about following Jesus, what would you say? I'm fairly new to this, to Christianity and to following Jesus and being more Christ-like. I'd say I fully devoted my life maybe less than a year ago, but the journey it's been rough. It's been hard, and I'd say that's the first piece of insight that I would say, is that it's not gonna be easy. Even Jesus said it so himself. It's not going to be easy. And through the hills and the valleys, just knowing that he's gonna be by your side throughout the entire path it's such a refreshing feeling inside your heart. And just knowing that he's gonna love you no matter what, like, it's such a beautiful feeling. And that's when I realized I'm just gonna fully devote my life to him. I'm fully gonna devote my life to him. I've been through a few rough patches in my life with struggling with anxiety and depression, and worse, it's been really bad. And I was introduced to this Psalm 13. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death, and my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love, and my heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. And that psalm really, really stuck with me, especially going through the rough patches that I've been through, and just knowing that the enemy has taken over so many times in my life, and just knowing that knowing that he's on my side, and that devoting my life to him just cleans me, washes me white. It was a beautiful feeling. It was a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And I guess that's just the main piece of insight that I would say I would give to somebody, is just trust in him and know that he's on your side no matter what. I recently did college tours in New York, which is terrifying. So scary, knowing that I plan on moving on the other end of the country, but I know he's gonna be there with me on that time. During the college tour, I got hit with this fear of just like, wow, I'm gonna be so far from home. But I just realized he's gonna be there. It just keeps hitting me over and over again. He's on my side. He's on my side. That's literally all I need to focus on, is him. And just trust in him, and that he'll push me forward. Like, that's all I need to know. But yeah, that's basically the one piece of insight that I would basically say, is to just trust in him and just have full faith in him, because he's so good to us, and it's all gonna work out.
All right, now I'm going to invite up Tori. Where's Tori? There she is. Tell them what degree.
Okay, I'm graduating with a degree in sociology, concentration in cultural sociology. So I did not prepare at all. So I'm just going to come up here and we'll see what comes out. It was just so crazy. So I'm from Arkansas. I came to CVU kind of being a Christian, growing up in the Bible Belt, like everyone goes to church. It doesn't matter what you believe. Everyone says they're a Christian. And it's crazy how, through my friend Jaden and another one of my friends, Madison, introduced me to Antioch. And I just have fallen in love with Jesus time and time again in this room. And with everyone in here, and just through community, and truly getting to understand his character. And it's just been so life-changing. But I really want to talk about what have I learned this past season to prepare me to follow Jesus next. So I'd always thought I'd go overseas and do mission work, or I would stay here because I love Southern California. But then I met a God-fearing man who is just the greatest person I've ever met, and I'm getting married in 13 days. Yes. And he's from home, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I'm about to move back across the country, back to just an atmosphere where I really haven't gotten to experience the Lord, and just, he moves so differently there. And so I've been really nervous, but it's been crazy how I feel like my time at Antioch has been a time of equipping to be comfortable with the Spirit. So I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, we have a choir, you wear suits, it's very formal. And, we really know the Father and Jesus really well, but sometimes we forget the Holy Spirit. And so I'm super excited because in the past 6 months, there's been over 70 baptisms at my church. The Holy Spirit's moving and people don't know what to do with him. Like, I will walk in there and I'm like, the atmosphere here is so different. And people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, he is here and he's moving. And so it's crazy because Antioch is such a spirit-filled, spirit-led church that I feel like this has just been a time for me to get comfortable with how the Spirit moves, how he speaks to me, how he speaks to other people. And I'm really excited to go home and just step back into that atmosphere, and really just praying that the Lord would use me there and just be a vessel for him to kind of help people understand a different part of his character and how he moves. But yeah, this has been like the most amazing experience, and I've gotten really comfortable with community here, which I never have before. But yeah, I love you all so much, and this place is so special.
All right, just really quick, I wanted to say I just got a message from the Parks, who lead our college ministry. They're out of the country right now, but they said they are watching right now, so just wanted you guys to know they're watching and loving it, and I'm probably getting our message from him in just a moment. Up next, we have Lissa. Yeah, there she is.
Hi, I'm Lissa Gray. I am graduating with a BA in theater, concentration musical theater. Yay, unemployment. I'm kidding. Originally, I was a little worried to do this because we just closed a show and there were capstones, and I was like, I did not write anything. But when Corey resent me the questions, I saw the first one and I was like, okay, I do have something to say about that. So something I've learned in this past season is really just how to find light in darkness. I feel like I've had a pretty easy life up to like this point, and it's probably going to be one of the hardest seasons I will ever have. But through it, I was just able to see God working in pretty much everything. Not to get into too much detail, but I lost a family member and I lost a friend. But in everything, I was just able to see like, okay, like maybe if we hadn't lost this family member, like these people who came all the way from this other state, like maybe they wouldn't have experienced Jesus because they didn't know Jesus. And then after all of that was over, like a lot of them came to the Lord. And it was like, okay, God, I see how you're working in this season. And with the friend we lost, like it was just so hard for my entire friend group of people, but we reconnected with other people. This person who lives in Northern California, who used to go to CBU, came back down to see us, and we got to spend that time with him and got to connect with him, and he was able to pour into us, and we realized like what a force for the Lord he has been in his place, and he just like witnessed to us too. So I guess just overall, God is going to lead you to the light if you want to find it. If you decide to stay in that dark place, and there is a time to grieve, of course, but if you decide to linger in that dark place, it's going to be really hard to find any kind of light. But if you kind of pick yourself up and just go outside even and just like look at nature, like you see that he's still working and he's still on your side, and he will bring you through practically anything, and he will always be there for you. And I was getting choked up during worship because he really has been so good to me through this whole season, and he has been such a friend, and that is definitely something I'm going to carry over with me into the next season and the next and forever after. Thank you.
It's scary up here, y'all. Abba, calm my breath. Rest with me. Let me speak your words. Be with me now. My name is Jude Curry. A lot of you know me. If you don't, too bad. I've been going to Antioch for a little while now. Let me start my time. Josh, I'm sorry. I will most likely go over. Don't get mad at me and don't text me. First, I just want to say thank you to all of my friends in the front row and all my friends everywhere else. For years and years, I would sit by myself. And now I just can't believe that I have people who would want to sit with me. So thank you. I love you all. I decided to answer the question, what have you learned in this past season that has prepared you for following Jesus in the next? I will start with the fact that I have cried more this year than ever before. But I've never trusted him more. This year has been hard for a number of reasons. If you know me well, you know a lot of them. If you don't, come up and talk to me, ask me questions. However, make them intentional. Otherwise, I will not give you an intentional answer. I've learned that God didn't give me another morning to remind me of yesterday, but to remind me of his mercy and his love. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm just a high school student. I'm not perfect. I never will be. But he is. And he doesn't want me to dwell on the hardships of yesterday, the things I messed up, the things I could have done better. He wants me to focus on him. And he wants me to keep walking and not give up. He's so kind and so present. He literally is love. That's what he is. He is love. I remember the first time I ever spoke at Antioch. It was one time years and years ago, and the only thing I remember saying was that God can love you more in one moment than anyone can in an entire lifetime. That's how much he loves you. And that means that you don't have to search for other people's love because he loves you. You don't have to search for people's validation. You don't have to search for anything and anyone because he has it all. No matter what happens, no matter who hurts you, he's so incredibly present. He is with you and he's willing to hug you. Just ask him. He's so willing to hold you. I think we forget that a lot, that he's still a father. He's God. He's all powerful. He's still a father. And he still wants to hold his son or daughter. That does not mean you won't get hurt, however. Things will hurt, that is promised to us. But in the words of my incredibly, incredibly wise sister, we weren't meant for it. We weren't meant for the hurt. So if we weren't meant for that hurt, why do we try to carry it? We can offer so much to God, and he's so willing to hold that. He's so willing to hold that. An image I always love is that I'm holding all of my pain and grief and sorrow in this hand, and my Abba just holds it. It's hard because when you say, just give it all to God, it still feels like you're holding it. It's because he's holding your hand with it. And he'll continue to hold your hand as long as you let him. So, in this next season, I know that no matter what happens, he's with me. He is ready to embrace me like a father and walk with me like a friend. Thank you.
That was my favorite child. And now to hear from my other favorite child. Up next, we do have Colette Curry. Where's Colette? There she is.
Did you see me furiously scribbling down those bars before they asked me to come up? It's like, wait, I gotta finish this. Hi. I'm starting a stopwatch so I know how long I'm yapping for. I want to answer the first question. What have you learned in this past season that has prepared you for following Jesus in the next? And this is something I've just been thinking about on my own before you even asked the question, but just like reflecting on like, wow, this has been 4 years of my life. Like this is a big season and I've learned and grown so much. And how am I different than when I first came to CBU? I am graduating with a double major in math and music. Forgot to say that. Woo. And so I just want to share one of the big lessons that God has taught me throughout the course of this 4 years, and it's kind of evolved over time. So I'll give you the timeline of it. At the end of high school, a psalm that I spent a long time meditating on, and that meant a lot to me, was Psalm 34. And in Psalm 34:1, David says that I will praise the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lips. And I was just like, wow, I wish that I could say that every day the Lord's praise was on my lips, that every day I was worshiping. And so I set out, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and worship as much as possible. Possible? Possible. And so I started asking the Lord, I was like, can you show me yourself in what I'm studying and what I'm doing? And I started learning how to give everything that I was doing as worship. And one practical way that the Lord taught me to do that was by gratitude. Because if you can just find a way, something in what you're doing to be grateful for, then you have something to thank Him for. And then you're worshiping, and then you're looking at Him. And I would write myself little notes, like in a lot of my math books, like the first page will say like, let this be worship, or my audition book has a Post-it note in it that says, let this be worship. And it's a prayer, but it's more a reminder so that when I see it, I look at it and I go, right, and I can recenter. And so that got me through a lot. And then things started getting hard. And there were certain times when I would be in a class and be really tired and falling asleep and not wanting to do this, and my body is falling apart and life is falling apart, and I'm like, I know I should worship, but I don't know how, because sometimes it can seem like such a abstract concept, like, okay, how can I worship doing math? Like, what do you want me to do? And sometimes I just didn't want to. And that was when the Lord taught me of a new form of worship. That is obedience. And so then my prayer shifted from let this be worship to reminding myself, if not worship and if not obedience, then what? And I was able to then, on days when it was hard, go, you know what? I might not understand what's going on, and I might not want to be doing this, but I know that you've called me to this in this season, so I'm going to do it well. If it's just being a student, I'm going to be the best student I can be because I'm being obedient to what you are asking me to do in this moment, and maybe that's the most I can give. But in Romans, we see that Paul tells us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, and that is worship. And I think obedience is a living sacrifice because you're not doing what you want to do. You're completely surrendering and just being like, you know what? I'm going to do this because you said so, so I will. And so that became my new prayer. And you guys are all family, so I can be honest. Because if what you're doing isn't for God, like if it's not worship, if it's not obedience, then what? And that's where the then what comes in. I never planned on being a music major. I started as just a math major, and I felt like the Lord was calling me to do music. And so I picked it up just out of obedience. I was like, well, the Lord told me to. And people ask me, like, what do you want to do with music? I'm like, I don't know. But God asked me to, and so I will. And so if nothing ends up coming of my music major, I'll be totally fine, because I'm like, I just did it because God told me to. But also, if you know me, you know that I've always had planned to get my doctorate in mathematics. And to be honest with you all, last night at 1 a.m., I heard from the last grad school, and they all said no. And I share that with you to encourage you to choose worship in everything. Because there's a part of me that initially was like, well, then what was this last 4 years for? If what I was working for didn't happen, like what was it all for? To be honest, there was a little part of my heart that was doing it for grad school. But then the Lord reminded me, like, no, same as with music, you were doing this because you were doing it for me. And that can't be made obsolete. And that is valuable no matter what. And God isn't trying to go like, hey, do this. Gotcha, why'd you do that? That was actually pointless. Like, he doesn't do that. He has a purpose in everything he's asking you to do. And so do it and trust him. And that is worship. So I just want to encourage you, if not worship, if not obedience, ask yourself then what? Because it's not worth it if you're not doing it for him, truly. So, yeah.
So I think you've all heard, it's interesting how these seniors, whether they're seniors in high school or seniors in college, trying to think how to say this. I think when I was a senior in high school or a senior in college, these are not the types of things I would have said. I mean, I wasn't a believer, so there's also that. But just, I don't remember it being so hard. I don't remember being that challenging and that difficult. And I think sometimes we can listen to them tell these stories and be like, you don't even know what hard is yet. Just wait till you get it out there. I think a lot of us that have lived a little bit more life don't understand what it's like to be in school in this era, in this season of life. They are carrying burdens that we can't imagine because we never had to carry them. They are being trained up for something far beyond anything that we could have possibly conceived. They're being tested, they're being tried, they are being trained. They're learning, and this is the one theme that I hear over and over in everything that you all said. They're learning to trust God, to trust the story that he's telling, to realize they may not have all the answers, and it's okay to not have all the answers. And I think he's training you, seniors, whether you spoke this morning or not. He's training you for such a time as this. There's an incredible call on your life, and this world needs you desperately because the winds are blowing strong. The storms are real, and they are trying to put out your light. But you are the light of this world. You are the light of the world. And a town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and hide it under a bowl. Instead, they place it on its stand, that it would give light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light so shine that they would see your trust, that they would see your confidence in the goodness of God when everything seems to be going wrong, that they would see your obedience, that they would see your worship, that they would see your life as a shining light and not grow weary. You have been given this conflagration, this burning fire inside of you for such a time as this. And the world needs it desperately. And Christ has called you to it, and he's prepared you for it. We do have a gift for all of the seniors. It's part of our tradition here at Antioch. We started with this idea of light. And so we purchased these lanterns for you. And after service, if you're a senior, we'd love to invite you to come up and to get one of these. And we want you to take these with you and remember that light that you are meant to shine, that you are meant to carry with you wherever you go. So whatever this next season is, I encourage you to take this with you. Put it somewhere where you'll remember. To not let the enemy blow out your light. To remember to be that light on the stand, giving light to everyone in the house. To let your light so shine. And we pray that as time passes, as often does, that you'll come back home and we'll be here to love on you. And if at any time you find that your lamp has been blown out, come here. Let us rekindle that fire for you. Or find a church family wherever you end up that will help you to keep your fire burning bright. But we'll always be here for you. There are 3 paintings in this room that really emphasize the idea of who we are. The first one is directly in the back. That is the bride of Christ. And she is Antioch. So as Antioch, our pillars are nurturing knowledge. So you see her holding those books. Is knowledge that helps us to grow in Christ. We want to know Christ. Not just know about him, but know him. And to learn about him. And that's why we want to think deeply about our faith. So nurturing knowledge, cultivating creativity. You see the birds flying around and sparking creativity in her. Healing the heart. See, if you go up closer, you can see she's holding a needle and she's sewing up the heart. Healing the heart. And strengthening for service. She's standing with this strong posture, ready for what God has in store for her in this next season. The second painting we have is our disciple painting. This was painted at the very beginnings of Antioch. Before we started, it was based out of this dream that we would be able to create this eagle's nest where we could train up disciples in a home of love. And then the goal is eventually not that the eagles would stay in the nest, but that they would go and they would soar and they would fly. And for some of you, you're reaching this season where it's time for you to leave the nest and to soar. And if at any point you need to come back to the nest, it's always there for you because it is a house of love. But please understand, we're training you up not just to be comfortable in the nest. We're training you up so that you can soar and let your light shine. And that brings us to the last one, the large mural that was painted. As you see, we've been called to be this house where this fruitfulness follows, and we all go out with our lanterns. Because it's not just about us, but we're to bring this light into the world, not just in the church.
Thanks for listening. To get connected, you can find us online at iamantioch.com or join us Sunday morning in Riverside, California.